Hello y'all. I want to share today with you how I make my food prepping for breakfast by using mason jars. Mason jars are one of my favorite things to use for almost anything around the house, but definitely for cooking and food prepping. So for starters, I will be chopping up some celery. You can use anything you'd like to put in this mix, but this is my mix. And after I'm done chopping the celery up, and I just cut it in slices, and I might cut half of it if they're really wide. Cut half of that and just kind of, there'll be pieces like that. I do put all my stuff that I cut in mason jars. So once I finish cutting, I'll fit it all in there. I'm done cutting the celery and I put it all in the mason jar. Everything that I will pre-cut, I will put in the mason jar. I'm not going to use the whole thing today for my breakfast prep, but I will continue to use it throughout the week for other things as well. So that's why I like to do it this way. Same with the onion. I'm going to cut the onion and put it inside my mason jar. I will fill it all the way up with my onions. Again, I will not use all the onions for this breakfast food prep for the week because the onions will also get used for other cooking stuff as well. So this is the onions. There was about 2 onions in here, medium size. Now I'm cutting the red onions because I love onions, so not only white or yellow onions, but red onions have to be part of my mix. And I will also put it in this mason jar, a little bit smaller mason jar because it's 1 onion instead of 2. Now I will do egg whites. I prefer egg whites. I definitely like the taste better. So I'm just going to keep my egg yolk right at the tip of my egg there to make sure I'm getting all the egg whites I need. And sometimes I do keep the egg yolk, but today I'm not. I do rinse my eggshells briefly. I do keep my eggshells so I can dry them in the oven and crush them up and put them in my garden. That will be a different video. I do about a couple of dozen eggs. Whatever's left over I will eat if it doesn't fit in the mason jars afterwards, but hard to tell, but that's about a couple dozen egg whites. I've gathered all my stuff. I have my celery, my red onions all chopped up, my white onions. You can use any onions or not onions at all. I used to do peppers, bell peppers, all the red, yellow, green, and orange bell peppers, but I no longer eat the bell peppers for health reasons. I will go into that in another video at some point. Garlic, MCT oil. Again, this is my personal preference. You could use coconut oil, olive oil, whatever oil you like to use. Black pepper, Himalayan salt. Again, any seasoning of choice you could use. These are my basic. I also make homemade sofrito, which does not have peppers in it. That will be a different video, but I pre-make it and then I freeze them in little cubes and then I use them as part of my seasoning. I do make it with all of my herbs in the garden. Again, I will do a video on that. And my egg whites. But before I do all this and start putting everything in this skillet, I will use a different skillet and add some sausage to this mix that I'm going to be doing. But I'm going to separate, I'm going to do the meat first aside, and then I will do the eggs and the veggies and all the herbs separate, and then I will mix it afterwards, just so this gets cooked first. Pour this out or push it out. I'm gonna go ahead and do the whole thing. Again, any extras I'll just eat it for dinner, or make extra jars if I have to for the family members that would like some. You don't have to do any kind of meats, of course. If you're a vegetarian, you can, or if you're some kind of vegetarian that eats eggs, you could do it without any meat. And or if you don't want to eat pork, you can add any other kind of meat that suits you for a breakfast jar. Now I'm just separating some of this so that way when it starts heating up the skillet, it cooks a little bit evenly. I also use ham cubes. Those are actually mixed while I'm making the eggs at the same time, but I feel like the sausage should and needs to be pre-cooked before doing that. I don't want to eat any raw sausage or any kind of raw meat, but cubed ham is already cooked, so there's no need for me to pre-cook it on the side. Same with bacon. I can use bacon, pre-cook the bacon, then cut it into little pieces and add it to the egg mix. So it's however you want. This time around I've decided to do sausage. I've never done the sausage before. While the sausage is cooking, I'm gonna add all my stuff to start the eggs. MCT oil, I'm using the rest of what I have here because it's all I have. This looks like it's about a teaspoon, roughly. You can use any amount you want. It's just enough to coat the bottom, which is what I'm doing, as you can see. Just creating that nice. I will put some of my celery in. I don't really measure. I just kind of eyeball it. If you're a type of person that likes to specifically measure stuff, go right ahead. Remember, this is going to be a week's worth of food, but what's going to really create this is more like fillers, it's mostly the eggs. The onions, same thing, again, not measuring, just eyeballing, looking at my colors, love colors. See, that looks so pretty. And there I am. So mix it in, let that heat. I have it on high right now, but I will lower the heat once I get these going. Just mixing a little bit with that oil in there and let it start. Alright, so I've got my sausage that's going right now. Nice and even in the pan, so that way it continues to cook. My veggies here, I'm just kind of letting them still heat up the pan, working through, getting these nice and sauteed. After this starts simmering and sizzling, I'll add the garlic, mix it in, then I'll add my sofrito cubes, so that way it starts creating a mixture. So I'm going back and forth between both pans. Alright, we are sizzling here. So I'm going to take some garlic, regular small spoon, cereal spoon. Again, not really measuring. I don't know, I might want more. Make it nice and flavorful. Mix it in. Alright, I'm going to put my little sofrito cubes. Let them get in there so they can start melting. gonna have the sausage on low, simmering for now. So then I can mix it once I have the eggs cooked in there and I know the sausage is fully cooked. I'm debating whether or not I'm going to drain the oil from that pan where the sausage is at or mix it in and add more flavor. So as I'm breaking down my little cubes, I'm just kind of smacking them so they can break down, but see how they're getting smaller and mixing. It smells so delicious already. So the onions are getting translucent. The celery is still going to be crunchy, but it's going to be that soft crunch. Again, you can put anything in here. Like I said, in the past, I've done the bell peppers with onions. I've added spinach. It's whatever you want to make it. However you like to eat your eggs and put stuff in your eggs. Again, I choose the egg whites, but you can choose the whole egg. You'll use less eggs if you use the whole egg, of course. This is about a couple of dozen egg whites. So I'm gonna add my egg white in here and basically scramble it. I'm trying to even everything out. I'll let it sit for a second, let it whiten up, and then I'll continue to mix until it's nice and even, fully cooked. I will add the salt and pepper after I have a little bit more white on there. You see how the bottom is whitening up? Here we go. I'm gonna add my pepper. Again, I wait till it's nice and white. Do a little mixing here just so I can see where my pepper lands. You can put your pepper at any given time during the cooking, but I just like to see it. Same with the salt, even though you really can't see the salt. But and again, you can use any salt or no salt at all, depending on your dietary needs. And some of this, so the egg white, obviously it's getting white. There's some liquid at the bottom that you could see. The celery is water-based, so it's gonna have some kind of liquid come out as well. Same with the onions. So that's all normal. When you put it in the jars, you won't be able to see it much, but after a few days and once you open the jar to eat it, you might have to drain some of the liquid out. Eggs are ready to receive the sausage, but before that, I'm going to go ahead and put up my jars. All right, so I have the sausage here. I did drain in a little bit of the oil, not all of it, and I'm gonna mix it with my eggs. Mixing the sausage in with the eggs, nice and even. All right, so I'm filling my mason jars with my delicious breakfast. And as soon as I'm done with all of them, I'll bring them all the way to the top and then I'll put the lids on them. I have my 5 jars, mason jars, filled. I eyeballed the whole thing and it was perfectly for 5 days, Monday through Friday of my work week, that I will have breakfast. Again, that was 2 dozen egg whites, and I eyeballed the rest, the celery, the onions, and a package of sausage. I will let these sit on the counter for a little bit, not very long, 10-15 minutes. They're very hot. Eventually, as the jars cool, the mason jars, as the heat decreases, this little area here, you can hear it, will actually sink in and pop in. It'll seal because the jars have a self-seal, and that's why they keep for the entire week just as fresh as I made them. You see the liquid at the bottom? It's gonna start building. That's some of the oil. It's hard to see. I'm not sure if you can actually see the liquid, but it's gonna start building. By the time you open it, there will be liquid. Just drain the liquid out before you heat it up if you'd like. I put it in the microwave without the lid and eat it right out of the jar. And this is my food prepping breakfast in a mason jar for the week.